Welcome. Thank you guys for coming out in the rain. I was out there a while ago, looked like it's about to slack up a little bit. Here's what we're going to do to start with. We got a panel thing we're going to do to start with about surf fishing. We're going to let this rain calm down, and then we'll go out and do our thing, okay? You good with that? Fantastic. Hey, my name is Kelly. If I hadn't had a chance to meet you, I'm the lead pastor of Connect Church. We're hosting this thing. Thank you guys for coming. We really do appreciate you. Hey, if you're watching online, we are going to do this thing. Y'all come on down, okay? But we're going to do this now. We're going to bring up Chip Brundage and some other guys, and we're going to, I think some of y'all might actually know. We're going to do a panel to start. Give him a hand.
We are super excited to come up and chat today. I'm going to let everybody kind of tell their own story, but I want to tell everybody that I'm the youngest surf fisherman here. The absolute youngest. So listen to the people that are also sitting here because they are wise. I've just watched everything come around for the last 10 years. Everything repeats itself. And these were the ones that did it 10, 20 years ago. And I'm honored to be sitting here with them today. So I'm going to let Larry start with his story.
You go ahead and get them going.
Okay, well, I started surf fishing. I moved here. I was a college track and field coach. I started fishing, and I just started learning how to surf fish. That was the biggest thing, is learning. I didn't have much information. I just knew that I had a buddy that took a couple trips with Noel. He said, just buy these sinkers. Don't waste any money on Sputniks. So I didn't, and I was able to become really good at surf fishing really fast because of him. And that being said, I was catching a lot of fish, but I wasn't catching a lot of pompano. But every time I saw Larry would say, well, how many pompano did you catch? And I'd say 1 or 2, but I'd have 30 or 40 whiting. And Larry said, I caught 30. I said, well, dang, I got to figure out this pompano thing. So that's pretty much how that all started. So Larry, being the most veteran, I'm going to let you take this and run with your story. I know that he's caught a lot of huge flounder also, so don't let him, not just pompano.
I don't know if most of you people have heard of me or not, but most of these first surf fishermen here has followed me through the years. I started over 50 years ago when you used a 9-foot rod surf fishing. So I sort of perfected it a little bit, knowing what to pompano feed on, knowing how to read the water. And these are all important things if you're going to catch a lot of fish. Of course, they banned me from fishing the tournaments and stuff because I do catch a lot of pompano. And probably 90% of the pompano fishermen or surf fishermen have looked at my YouTube channel and Facebook and see what I catch. I got the state record pompano, caught the state record whiting, and I'm proud of the things that I've taught people through the years. And most of these people that are out there are catching fish now, but they're catching local fish. The big migration of pompano stayed offshore. I was telling Brett, because we've got all this muddy, sandy water, and they don't like that in their gills, so they move offshore. And they're in North Carolina right now, the big breeders. What we're catching now is the smaller fish coming out of the river, and they're still catching them down in Melbourne in South Florida, but they're all 10, 12 inches long. But the big breeders won't be back here until probably late September or October. So don't expect to be able to go out there and catch 5 or 6 pompano at a time because the big ones are already moved north. And so I follow the migration. I've been doing this for a lot of years. In the fall of the year, I fish Little Talbot, Fernandina, And by the time it gets into March, they're on their migration back. But I follow them from Fernandina to West Palm Beach. Been doing it for over 50 years. So I've learned a lot. I was born not knowing. Everybody's born not knowing. You have to learn it. You can learn it right, you can learn it wrong. But I use a 13.5-foot rod anymore. My rods are one piece. I had them built back when they could ship 13-foot rods without it costing $250 just to ship. But the longer the rod, and there's a reason why we use the longer rod. As the surf comes in, okay, if you got a short rod, every wave catches it, pushes your line on the beach. So try to get a rod that gets up above the surf, the big waves, and even if you have to use a long sand spike, try to get above there. Keep your bait out where the fish are, and really that's all I do. I take phone calls if people want to know where. I don't lie to them about where I'm catching them. I may give them if I'm catching them south, I'll say I'm fishing south or fishing north. But anymore, the fish I catch today are going to be in Fernandina tomorrow and the next day. So follow the migration. Just because you call a school of fish at Huguenot Park, that school of fish moved on out. They'll be someplace else tomorrow. So keep up with them where they are. Brett's got sand flea bites that attracts the fish. I'm a sand flea person. I catch my own sand fleas. I don't pay that $4 a dozen for. But anyway, this is why I catch fish. I use the bait that the fish are feeding on. When I cut them open, I see what they've been eating. So just keep up with what the fish are feeding on. When it's crab, when it's ghost shrimp or sand fleas, they change their diet. When they're in Jacksonville here, in the fall of the year, when the river shrimp move out of Fernandina and come out into the ocean, if you don't use a fresh river shrimp, you don't catch as many fish. So keep up with that. The bait that you need to use, get it out there. Small hook. I know surf casters use 40-pound line if they're using a 4-ounce sinker. I use 15-pound leaders, pompano or sight feeders, and smell. The fish bites give it the odor, and the color gets their attention. So I always have a colored yellow, green, something that shows up. And then I have some that has no bead at all. But change, if somebody's catching fish, get in his pocket, learn how. Oh, I've had them sit in the sand dunes watching me catch fish. Noel Coons called me once. He said, "We're fishing here, have one pompano. We see you up there with those kids catching fish." He said, "I counted 25 pompano y'all caught." I said, "Yeah, that's for real. We did." But anyway, it's not about how many I catch. It's about teaching you why I catch that fish. So you're welcome to listen to my spiel on YouTube or Facebook, or call me and ask me. I'll tell you the truth about where they're coming from. Okay?
Thank you, Larry. Larry will be here all day, too, so make sure that you're picking his brain. I was lucky enough to go to his tackle shop and spend some time with him, see him on the beach, and watch what he was doing that was different than everybody else. Going to the second oldest that I know in surf casting is Lyndon. All I knew is when I met Lyndon, it was a guy that could cast super, super far. And the last thing I heard about Lyndon was this guy was sitting on the beach. He packed all of his stuff up. He got out. He asked me how I was doing. He got out of the truck and pulled his rod out, put them together, and gave me a lesson on how to cast. That's Lyndon. So big heart. He's going to talk about his story, about how he got into fishing, but also with casting. What was that distance?
Oh, my longest casting competition is 213 yards. And the bigger pictures, that's not a long ways compared to the big time distance casters. But I started surf fishing probably about 30 years ago. I had the old Penn Slammers, 12-foot rods, very heavy. The 14-foot ugly sticks, very heavy. I was learning all of my information. At that time, there really wasn't a YouTube channel, but there was a lot of fishing forums. So I used to follow the fishing forums. And we started the Florida Surfcasters Club 21 years ago. And the first president, Frosty, we got together. I saw him cast on the beach. That was the first time I saw somebody cast 100 yards with a conventional reel. And I was like amazed. And I said, you know, I'm going to learn how to do it. And so following the forums, getting the information, I'm out there struggling, bird nesting. It was just a mess. But Sportscast USA, which is like a distance club, they was having a tournament in Crisfield, Maryland. And Frosty and I took a flight out to Maryland to participate. We wasn't planning on participating, but just observing. So we fished the day before, and when we went to the tournament, they talked us into competing. And believe it or not, we ended up winning in our divisions. Now, our rods and reels were still crusty with sand and salt, and they had all of these prestigious reels, and everything was set up for long distance casting. So they were pretty mad at us for winning that tournament. But that's when the bug hit me, and that's when I met Richard, who taught me, and Darryl White. And that's when the casting bug hit me. And so from there, I just started learning how to tune my fishing reels, using different rods. You know, there's different techniques with casting. If you can hold this for a second. Like, this is one of my tournament reels. And when I turn this handle, this spool would have to spin at least 4 to 5 minutes before I start tuning it down. Like, for example, now that reel will spin about 4 or 5 minutes before it stops. Now, of course, I could never cast it like this. But once I get my 4 or 5 minutes, I know I can start using the oils and the magnets to start bringing it down where I can get my 150, 200 yards.
I'll hold that.
Yeah, that's still spinning.
It'll still be spinning.
But I'm just very passionate about surf fishing. I love teaching people about surf fishing because when I didn't know anything, people would take me to the side and teach me. And so at this age, you know, I want to give back. I see people on the beach making mistakes. Now, I don't go up to everybody because some people are just, you know, but if I can help somebody with their casting, they want information about, you know, the bait I'm using, I'm more than willing to help spend time with people. And I meet a lot of good people on the beach. And there's, especially the surf fishing community, 99% of the people that I meet are just super people, you know. And I just, you know, just want to give back.
They may want the fisherman first, because I'm just basically a long distance caster.
Okay. Here we go, Mark, you ready?
Well, since we're on casting,
Yeah.
it's a perfect segue.
Introduce him.
Okay, my My name is Richard Burton. I grew up in the Washington, D.C. area. I grew up freshwater fishing. I was close enough that they had, I'm calling it seminars. It wasn't really a seminar. It's like an armory. You go to armory, you go to freshwater armory, you find out about freshwater tackle. And then they also was close enough to the saltwater, where I go to a saltwater armory, and we have all these saltwater vendors, equipment, rods, reels, lines, you name it. My first rod, bought with my own money, because nobody in my family fished. I bought a combo, maybe about 5 feet tall, rod, reel, $5.98 from used to be a place called Murphy's. That was a long time ago. And it didn't have any brakes. You know, when you cast, the handle would turn, and if you weren't careful, it would hit your knuckles. But that was my introduction to fishing. I loved fishing before I went fishing. I saw it in the book, and like, oh yeah, that's me. I'm gonna do that. What I learned early in life doing freshwater fishing was that in my area, people that caught more fish cast further. So I immediately watched all the longer people that could cast, and I kind of created a style from their style. So I was early teenager, and I could cast probably as far, if not farther, than probably all of them. Later on, I switched over to saltwater fishing, and I just prefer saltwater fishing. But I prefer any kind of fishing as opposed to no kind of fishing. When I was went to one of these saltwater armories, I met a saltwater casting team, Tidewater Anglers. And that's the first time I actually saw someone do long distance casting. Before that, I heard about this guy in England that could cast easily 100+ feet further than anybody in the United States. And I'm like, I didn't know what he was doing, but I knew whatever he was doing, it was different than what we were doing. So for 3 years, I tried to get in touch with somebody to find out what the style was like. Couldn't find out. I eventually got a book, and I got the book before I found this Tidewater Angling Club. So the Tidewater Angling Club introduced me to Sportcast. So that's how I kind of learned where to go. When I first started, you had to cast 450 feet to enter. There was no entry fee, but you just had to cast 450 feet. I could cast 400 feet, but I couldn't figure out how to cast the extra 50 feet just to participate. So I'm like, okay, well, it was like a 2-day event. One day was teams, first day was teams, second day was individuals. I said, well, I'll go up on a team day, I'll see what they do, and hopefully, individual day, I can cast 450 feet where I can enter. So one of the teams was short. A couple of people asked me, would I participate? And I'm like, sure. I said, but I can't do what you do. They said, no big deal, just do what you do. Now, you know there's no way I'm gonna do what I do, because I'm trying to get 450 for the next day. So each team member has 5 casts. I had my 5 casts. I messed up 5 times. So after the team event, this guy gave me some instruction on how to cast. So I went from 400 feet to 550 feet in an hour. So then the next day when I went to the tournament, I cast 600 feet. So in one weekend, I went 200 feet further than what I started with. So I'm just trying to spread what I learned to anybody who's willing to listen. Thank you.
I'm going to give that back. Yeah, I need to. So casting, that was the biggest thing. I was lucky enough, I was a college track and field coach who'd coached for 15 years on people how to throw things far. So I didn't have to be taught how to cast. I knew how to throw things far. I had javelin throwers throw 75 meters, almost 80 meters. That's 250 feet, 270 feet. That's a long ways with an 800-gram thing. So I knew how to throw things. I knew how to teach how to throw things. The problem is I needed the weapon to do so. And that's when I was introduced to Mark. My wife bought a rod from Mark. I was lucky enough to see people throw 100 yards, so I didn't have to worry about it. I was able, at this time, the history had already been, Steve Austin had passed the good rods down to Mark. Mark was introduced me to it, introduced my wife. She bought me a rod, and I was able to throw 100 yards about the first time I cast. And it didn't have anything to do with me. It had to do with the equipment that we have. So a little bit about your history, too, is it's just better, a little bit better stuff can make it a lot easier for you. And I started with a hand-me-down 11-foot Daiwa M-cast rod with a glow tip. It was pretty awesome. It's still in my garage. Floyd Futch gave it to me. He said, you just need 1 or 2 rods, and then my other was with an M-cast 10-footer. I could throw it really far. Nobody thought, I'm like, you can't throw a 10-foot rod far. I'm like, you're right, I can't. Not as far as a 13.6. So Mark had came into my life at the right time. He taught me how to use some different baits that I'd never used before. Clam, we were sitting on the beach one day, and I didn't know anything about it. I was just a rookie. I had all the books because I wanted to learn. I had all of the, how do you learn from the book, but I didn't have all of the time on the water. So I met Mark, and I'm going to let you tell the rest of your story, Mark. I know that was 11 and a half years ago for me.
All right, hey, my name's Mark Burford. I own Florida Surf Tackle. I actually bought Florida Surf Tackle from Steve Austin 15 years ago, maybe 20, I don't know. But, you know, I'm not going to talk about distance casting because that's not me. I'm not a distance caster. But what I do is try to supply good equipment to people that can afford it, and it's just readily available. Florida Surf Tackle had a line of surf fisher rods. It's called the Florida Surf Angler rods. Steve Austin developed them, he manufactured them, and he brought them to the market. Very popular rods and all that. But somewhere down the line, I was kind of thinking that maybe I'm missing something. Those rods are in the $300 range right now. So I started looking for another rod manufacturer to go to a dream that I had about my own line of rods that were better than something that you would buy from Walmart, but not a $350 rod. So I reached out to a couple of manufacturers, and I had samples made. I had a 13, a 12 heavy, and an 11-foot rod made. You know, I brought those in. I fished with them. I had my friends fish with them. Chip fished with them. He tried them out for me. I think Lyndon might have tried one out for me. But it was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to get in that market where more people could afford a good surf fishing rod. So I had those samples, and I asked Chip to fish with me. He loved them. He talked about them. And then I said, you know, I'm not sure if I want to dilute my product having this rod in my line. So I put those rods away, kind of forgot about them. One day Chip came up to me and says, hey Mark, those samples that I tried for you, do you want to get rid of them? He says, I really like those rods. So I said, sure. So I sold Chip samples. And then nothing, you know, Chip was fishing them. I never thought about them again. And Chip, maybe a year later, said
18 months.
He's better with dates. My memory's gone. But 18 months later, Chip says, hey, Mark, have you ever thought about those samples again? He says, man, those are great rods. They'd be great in the market. And I said, you know what? I said, let me order samples again. So I ordered another round of samples. And they came back. They were built just like the original ones I bought. And Chip tried them out again. And he says, you really need to do this. So when you order fishing rods from overseas, you don't get them in a week or two. It's like 6 months. So 6 months later, I decided to order 50 12-foot rods and 50 13-foot rods. Chip was one of the guys that was helping me out with those. We sold those 50, well, really 100 rods in 30 days, just by word of mouth. People was using them, people loved them, and then I said, shoot, now do I do this again? I got to order rods, it's another 6 months. So we did another 50 rods and 50 rods, and we sold those 100 rods in 30 days. So, that was twice, and I said, all right, something's going on here. So I ordered 100 rods, and then from then on, I've just been keeping them in stock. Right now, I probably have 113-foot rods in stock, and probably the same amount of the 12s. And so we threw a 10-foot rod in there as well. And it just seems to me like not just my rod, but surf fishing has blown up that much since COVID, during COVID, and after COVID, that it's just blown up everything that you do in surf fishing. Tournaments, look at the tournaments that you can get into now. Used to, Florida Surfcasters had a tournament, and that was just about it. But now there's tournaments all over the place during the Pompano run that you can go to, and they pay out some pretty substantial amount of money. Coming up next weekend is Florida Surfcasters tournament, and the weigh-in will be at Strike Zone in Jacksonville Beach. And then there's another good tournament here in town. It's King of the Hill at Neptune Beach Baptist Church. Larry's one of the spokesmen for that tournament. And it's a good tournament. It's a short tournament, and it's from a church in Neptune Beach. So if you're looking for stuff, Neptune Beach Baptist Church, Florida Surfcasters next weekend. And these aren't tournaments that can pay you thousands of dollars, but what it is good tournaments to get into that you can fish with your kids, you can fish with your wife, you can fish with your family. And to me, that's what surf fishing is. I never used to go to the beach when my kids were little because I didn't like to just sit on the beach. But when I took up surf fishing, I was the one that was initiating, let's go to the beach, let's go hang out as a family. So surf fishing is not just an individual thing. You can get your family involved. Your kids might want to play in the sand. But if there's a fish on that rod, dangling that rod, you best believe that they're going to get up and want to reel that fish in. So what my advice is to anybody in surf fishing is get the kids involved. And when you go to something like this, if you take away one thing that you've learned from this event and you start building on it, then you're going to be one of these guys one day. You're going to be the guys that's passing out information, that's readily giving information and all that. And that's what I want to be. I want to be a guy that somebody's going to come up to or call and say, hey, Mark, what's going on in the surf or whatever, and I can give them that information. So, pay attention to these guys. Pick up one thing every time. Go to 100 events. Then you have 100 pieces of knowledge that you picked up. So, that's what I got.
Thank you, Mark. We're gonna wrap this up real quick because it's not raining, but I want to say that I want to explain a little bit about where you're at and where everybody else was at. Richard wanted to cast far. Lyndon was a fisherman that wanted to cast far. Larry was catching fish and making a living. Mark wanted to just spend family time. My deal was I grew up and we hunted and fished for our food. We didn't go to the store. I wasn't here to learn how to fish. I was here to learn to fish. So when I was learning, I didn't care about if I could cast far. I didn't care about family. The family was going to come when I was having fish at the dinner table. So everybody has a different spot of where they're at. So I just wanted to catch fish to feed my family, and it was healthier. So that's what we did. So learning through the Surfcasters tournament, they had a tournament where you catch 12 different species. What a great way to learn how. I wish they'd do that again, but I know it's a lot of work. But 12 species on how to catch each one of those is different. So that's where I become really good at surf fishing, is because I had to learn to target. So somebody said yesterday, I took my buddy Steven fishing for his birthday. The pompano aren't really here unless they're shorts. They're coming. There's another group coming. But we said, well, we'll go see if we can catch some pompano. But I said, well, let's go catch some sheep's head and some black drum. He goes, are you sure? So we went out, first cast, black drum, second cast, black drum, third cast, sheep's head. But those are all techniques. So my wife loves sheep's head. My wife says, hey, I'd like to have sheep's head. I go catch a sheep's head for her. So that's kind of a little story there. But everybody's different in this group, so we know that. So if you're here to learn how to cast far, if you're here to learn how to just enjoy the company of everybody here, to learn that one nugget, as I told my wife, I went to church every Sunday, and I went to get one thing every day. If I went to church, I went to get one thing. So if you just take one thing, like Mark said, just take one thing, don't worry about everything else, just one thing, you'll be better today, and then you'll take it to the beach, and you'll become a better fisherman, a better caster, better whatever you want. So we'll all be out there helping with this. We are ready for the casting competition. The rain is now gone. It is sunshiny outside. I don't know that for sure, but let's go out there and enjoy each other, make some memories, and thank you, Connect Church and Kelly, for putting this on.
All right, I think we're going to head outside. Mr. Linden, you're going to do a demonstration outside and then start taking people in your team, showing them how to cast, all right? If you didn't bring a rod, we have some rods out there for you to borrow. These guys, he's in charge out there on the line. They're also going to be bringing, if you're not out here casting, they're going to be bringing some food in here in probably about 10 minutes. You're welcome to it. It's free food. They'll be bringing it right in here. You're welcome to come in here and grab something to eat, okay? Oh, yes. Hey, here you go. Here, you tell them. You tell them. Tell them who you are.
Hey, real quick, everybody. I'm Ryan with Diamond Fishing Products. We're a local fishing line company here in Jacksonville. Come on outside, see me at the tent. I got a free 300-yard spool for everybody that showed up today.
That's awesome. Hey, support our vendors and our sponsors. Y'all go out and check them out.